Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Historical Humans Heritage. And on today's episode, we are heading to the American Southwest to talk about the Chaco culture.
Yep. It's a it's a fun one. This is a Pueblo culture in the southwestern United States, centered on Chaco Canyon, and they were prominent from about 850 to 1250 AD. They were, 400-year culture. It's a little less than two Americas at this point.
But one of the most amazing things that they left behind is the image shown here on the homepage, which are pretty interesting because this is the foundation of the city. This is the literal base of the walls of the city, and each little circle, each little square was a different building or residence within the city, and they all lived in a general overall community.
I was also informed that the circles are in fact not cisterns.
No,
Yeah,
sorry,
nope,
bud.
nope, that's their homes, everybody.
Do they
And
have cisterns?
I mean, I'm sure they did somewhere. They lived in the desert.
Yeah, you can actually see in the picture along the wall. There's a number of bars pressed into it right now to hold it up because all of that sort of dirt that we're seeing that gives it this illusion of being a flat mesa. That's just dust and dirt that has accumulated over the last 800 years that has just built up there to effectively pack itself in. This is kind of like Pompeii. We have to re-support the buildings as we excavate them.
And they are pretty deep. They go probably 10, 15 feet deep.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
And there's a lot of cool little petroglyphs all around that are honestly gorgeous.
I love a good petroglyph.
And one of the big things that these early pueblos have been known for is their pottery. And this article doesn't really show many pictures, but their pottery is gorgeous. And what it is these are super well organized structures that show multi story, and there's a lot of really skilled masonry, which shows all the different social hierarchies and social structures within this. Because you can see that there's certain stratified areas, and one of the things I always like to highlight is to get certain levels of any skilled labor like that, you have to have dedicated tradesmen and skilled people. So there has to be a lot of food surplus, a lot of production to help support that, especially when you start seeing more sedentary lifestyles. And one of the big things about that shows that is that there's a lot of storage areas within these buildings that show that there's a lot of production, a lot of trade that's happening. I mean, these pueblos are right on a major trade route from North America straight into Mexico and eventually into South America. I mean, we kind of joked about it off screen a little bit,
Oh my god.
the
Yeah.
but the Aztecs' origin story has them coming from the north, and this is a little bit late for Aztecs, but there is a misnomer, and one of the sites that's protected here is called Aztec Ruins National Monument, along with Chaco Culture National Historical Park, and five additional archaeological areas.
There's this is also existed like around the same time as Cahokia too. And we do have evidence of obsidian this far east.
Well, so most of the obsidian, interestingly enough, comes from like Wyoming, Montana area. This area would have traded their pottery and would have traded a lot of their other goods that they would make.
So
Yeah.
still extensive trade
Oh
networks
yeah, no,
across
they
the
absolutely
across
were
what is
trading with
now the
Cahokia.
US.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like if we were to sort of try and trace the obsidian from Cahokia, which is in Illinois, it would pass through it would pass through here on its way as the people from the mountains brought it down, traded it for the pottery made from good malleable earth here to then bring back up into the mountains.
Actually, another trade route that they would do too is trade north to Minnesota, where they would get pipestone, because a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
the pipes that they would use was carved from this specific pipestone, and from there it would go down south through the rivers.
yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, these trade networks were massive and would span almost the entire continent.
And to think they did all that trading and go traveling without GPS.
They did it without horses. They did this all on foot and occasionally by boat.
Mostly by boat.
Yeah. And by boat, we mean canoe.
Birch bark
Like,
canoes, absolutely.
yeah. Yeah, it's like by boat. Like we see, Native America 1100 AD and they've just got like a motorboat. Mm,
But the cool thing about this is these sites are in really exceptional standings. I mean, a lot of times they were built out of sandstone and mud mortar and would raise about 5 stories tall, but a lot of what we see now is just their bases, their evidence, and you can kind of get a feel for what these great houses look like, especially the size.
This
But
shit's huge.
in terms of authenticity, it still maintains so much of it, all the materials, location, substance. And the cool part is, a lot of these kivas are actually far away from modern civilization. They truly are in very remote areas, so they're not really threatened very much, but they do try to stabilize the structures to continue the research. And in terms of protections, this place has all of them.
yeah. This place has a lot of laws and protections surrounding it, in part because it is one of the earlier additions to the UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is initiated in 1987. So attention has been on this place for a long time as a center of historical and cultural significance. So there's been plenty of time for legislation after legislation to be drafted and passed regarding uh, this place. And of course, this goes all the way back to, I think, 1907, some of the laws that protect it.
Well, so Chaco Canyon was designated a national monument in 1907 and was eventually elevated to the status of a national historical park in 1980. Aztec ruins was officially inscribed in 1923 as a national monument, but then also expanded in 28, 30, 48, and 1988. And then there were 5 additional Chaco culture sites that were given archaeological protections in 1980.
Yep.
But the
Yep. And
cool thing is, and one of the things that I always talk about is their management plan, which this does have because it's within the National Park Service, and they also monitor other land owning agencies like the Bureau of Land Management. The Department of the Interior also has oversight, and you still have a lot of state, federal, and tribal laws that help manage the property's components. So it's
yep.
very cool, and they do still actively study a lot of these sites, and they continue to study them. And there's so much information still yet to be figured out and
Yep.
discovered.
It's very nice. Unfortunately, it does have one weakness at the UNESCO level of all things.
Oh.
See, because this is an early inductee, there is no what's the proper term for this? I saw it and I lost it, and I do apologize for that. But there is no boundary zone.
Mm.
Hmm.
There is no buffer zone. No buffer zone on this because in 1987 they didn't realize you needed that. They didn't recognize the cultural importance of viewshed, and so there's a lot of roadways that have been very beautifully preserved between different parts of these sites that just they don't get UNESCO protection. And as such, they are more vulnerable to a number of threats, including expanding utilities and resource extraction operations.
Oh
Yeah.
god damn it, they keep doing this,
It's
don't they?
always it always
Yeah.
comes back to
For
gold and
fuck's
oil.
There's
sakes.
there's no buffer zone, and you know there's there's that leaves this place sort of open. Like people don't know what to do with that. How do you describe the buffer zone?
Well, how do we protect properties when we don't have to? Oh, we don't.
Yeah,
Blast.
I'm just
yeah,
saying, I think the solution here is to give it a good 200-mile radius berth.
That covers so much land though.
And I think it's appropriate.
I
yeah.
mean, I don't
Now,
necessarily disagree, but that is a lot of land.
I am just saying. I
yeah,
think that's a good rule of thumb. 200-mile radius.
yeah. Now there has been some efforts to work around this lack of official buffer zone, including reburial after excavation and study, and fencing. Because just because there technically isn't a buffer zone doesn't mean you can't put up a chain link fence around the whole thing with a bunch of no trespassing signs.
I think we need to build a wall.
Oh no.
Well,
Okay, I
good.
think that's a
We'll wrap
great
this
point
show.
for us to wrap up. Thank you guys for watching. Let us know your thoughts down below, and we'll see you in the next one.